Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk about Goosebumps, of course perfect for spooky season. So as always, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and let's begin. So, back in 1992, in July, the first book in the Goosebumps series, Welcome to Dead House, was published. And it immediately became not really a hit sensation, but it became really popular among children and young adults. And that led to the immense popularity of the Goosebumps series itself. The series itself was heavily inspired by Tales from the Crypts, the comic books specifically, as well as stories about children using their wits and their cunning to overcome evil and to be brave enough to solve their problems without always having to run to adults. That plus a lot of comedy is kind of really the influences that led R.L. Stein to basically starting one of the longest running anthology series aimed at young adults and children with a heavy horror slash scary vibe to it. So, in 1994, the TV show was started. The popularity of the books had reached such a point where they, of course, wanted to adapt it into a TV show. So, they adapted it in, of course, the same format that the books exist in. It's a very anthological series. So, each episode is a completely different story, except for the few stories that have sequels. The TV show remained really faithful to the books that they were adapting, which led to the popularity of the TV show just growing exponentially, which, of course, led to just major merchandising. There was a time when Goosebumps memorabilia could be found literally anywhere. It was all over the place and it was completely inescapable. And that was essentially the time I grew up in. So a lot of my influential readings and stuff was Goosebumps and Harry Potter and stuff like that, which led to me reading as much as I do now and led to me having a love for the horror genre the way I do now. So from 1994 to about 1997, the roughly 4 seasons of the show adapted most of the 62 original books of the series. But later, the sales started to decline and popularity started to wane, the way most things do. And also because the market had become saturated with young adult and children's horror, because the popularity of Goosebumps led, of course, to so many other people trying to emulate that success by creating similar things. But the only true, I don't know if I'd call it a successor, but the only true contemporary competitor with Goosebumps, in my opinion, was Are You Afraid of the Dark? The series was like softly rebooted and tried to be revived multiple times after its popularity waned. So in around 1997 to around 2000, there was Goosebumps 2000, and there was also Tales That Give You Goosebumps. Both kind of offshoot sequel series to the original series, but of course still anthology series, but still of course under the header of Goosebumps. So while it was technically a spinoff and kind of not the same thing, I mean it's all an anthology series, so effectively it is the same thing. But of course, the series kept coming back, and now these days it's really just a true fountain of nostalgia, as proven by the two movie adaptations that came out. The first one did really well. They both have Jack Black starring as R.L. Stein, and it's in the situation where all the characters from all of the books are released in a kind of like Scooby Doo Monsters Unleashed sort of way. So that way they can touch on a lot of the famous characters without having to really try to smush together anthology stories. Despite the first movie being pretty popular, the second one didn't do really well, so therefore they discontinued the movie franchise. But now this year we have or a reboot of the TV show. I don't know which books this new TV show is going to adapt, but it's obviously targeting my age range with the nostalgia and stuff, so I'll definitely probably check it out. Goosebumps was heavily influential on me and my interests now, as well as things like Are You Afraid of the Dark and, of course, Tales from the Crypt. But Goosebumps definitely holds a special place in my heart, apart from the nostalgia. It's a TV show that I grew up with, the books I also grew up with, and it just reminds me of a really nice, innocent, like fun time in my life. So I definitely still have some favorites that I go back to every now and again. So now I want to give my top 5 favorite episodes slash book adaptations of Goosebumps. Starting with number 5. Number 5, Say Cheese and Die. So Say Cheese and Die is one of the episodes where these group of kids basically find a camera. Whenever they take a picture with the camera, it shows what is essentially a glimpse of the future. And the future event that it shows is never a good one. It's always the death of someone somehow. So they have to basically run and try to figure out, race against time in order to try to figure out how to prevent the image from actually becoming a reality. And it's a really cool, fun one. And similar concepts have been used throughout like children fiction, horror fiction and stuff like that. But it still works because it's, just a fun concept in general. So Number four have to be Welcome to Horrorland. So that's one of the books that I kept for a very long time because it was a choose your own adventure book. So I like read that thing cover to cover so many times. It was like really worn out. And the TV show kind of, I mean the episode of the TV show did a pretty good job in adapting it, but of course it's like a single episode kind of thing. They could have kept playing with it and kept it going, and it could almost be a spin-off series in and of itself. And I really like it. I wonder if they'll do something like that in the new reboot. I hope they do. That would be kind of cool. So number three. Number three is A Night in Terror Tower. Another one of my absolute favorites. The audiobook adaptation of the original book is really, really well done too, because it's kind of like a dramatization. You get like rain and you get various voices and stuff for the other characters and everything. So it's like a lot of fun. And also the adaptation of it is almost like one for one, the TV show. Like the words, the script and everything is very much dead on exactly what was in the book and stuff. And it's just a lot of fun. It was really well done. Sorry, in the background, you might hear a cow chewing on one of his toys. um, so let's go on to the next one. Number two definitely has to be The Haunted Mask. So, The Haunted Mask is one of those very, very famous episodes of the TV show because it was actually really, really creepy. The stuff in the book was already creepy enough, but when they adapted it into the episode, it was just like so much more creepy. Just the visual of the mask, and then when we get to the point where she's not able to actually take the mask off, it's also just like super, super creepy. And that one in particular was inspired by a Halloween mask that R.L. Stein's son was having trouble getting off. They were having trouble getting the mask off his face, and it completely inspired this story of like a mask that can't come off and will take over your life and stuff. So that's a lot of fun. Definitely puts it up there on my list. But of course, number one has to be probably the most popular story, the most popular episodes, and the most popular character in all of Goosebumps. It is definitely Night of the Living Dummy with Slappy the Dummy. I love him so much. It's so much fun. This one, R.L. Stein said, was particularly inspired by Pinocchio, which I think is pretty interesting because Pinocchio is a fairly innocent story, unless I guess he's talking about the original story, which was a lot more kind of intense, especially for children. So the fact that Slappy is as intense as he is, I think it kind of works. And I also love the fact that this episode was so popular, it had major influences on other things, like Family Matters. There's an episode where Steve Urkel has a ventriloquist dummy of himself, and it of course comes to life. That's one of my favorite Halloween episodes of that TV show. And I guess also you could say that the story has to be at least somewhat inspired by the Tales from not Tales from the Crypt, but the Twilight Zone episode with the talking Tina doll. Like there was also a living doll episode in there, but that also inspired the movie Child's Play, which is hard to believe that Slappy the doll isn't at least somewhat inspired by Chucky. So it has to be. But like the living doll subgenre in horror is just a lot of fun, and I really like it. And that's probably started with this episode, with this particular Goosebumps story. So I really like it a lot, and I just wanted to talk about it and pretty much have an excuse to gush about Slappy the doll. So of course, let me know in the comments down below. Did you all watch Goosebumps growing up? Do you have a favorite episode or a favorite book? If you do, let me know about it in the comments down below. And are you going to watch the new Disney reboot? So yeah, of course, leave me a comment. Let me know about all that, and I will talk to y'all next time. Make sure you check out my Patreon and stuff down below if you want to see any of my reactions or any of the bonus videos I have down there. So of course, I will talk to y'all next time. Peace.